We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insight, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Thursday, October 30th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. And joining us today is Ki.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. And also Brooke is with us.
Hello, good morning. Happy to be here.
Good morning. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's almost the weekend, just one more day to go. And tomorrow is not just any Friday here in South Korea. It's the start of a major international event. So Ki, can you tell us what this very event is?
You say it's not a Friday for me anymore because it's a really important day and more work for me. But APEC, short for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, is scheduled to take place in the historic Korean city of Gyeongju, Republic of Korea, for the next 2 days from the 31st of October and the 1st of November. And this marks the first time in 20 years that Korea is hosting APEC following the 2005 summit held in Busan. The nation has completed all preparation and is fully ready to welcome this major international gathering. APEC brings together 21 member economies across the Asia-Pacific region. The 2025 meeting is seen as particularly important because of growing geopolitical and economic uncertainty, and hosting in Gyeongju, or the old capital city of Shilla Kingdom, highlights Korea's strategy to showcase this blend of historical culture and modern innovation. And as a matter of fact, I went down to Gyeongju for some of the pre-events that took place for this APEC this Monday, and it was quite amazing. Long trip, no accommodation, but it was great.
What was your favorite part of it?
I mean, there's a lot of other corporation that has to do with, of course, sponsoring this big event. So I was part of it, but then because of that, I had to leave 3 in the morning, drove down there for 4 hours. So
that's dedication.
Wow,
that was dedication. APEC for Korea, yes.
Right, so it's like you said, it's been 2 decades since Korea last hosted APEC, so there's definitely a lot of attention to how the country will present itself this time. It really feels like a big moment for Korea, especially with all the preparations that have gone into this. And you can really tell that the expectations are quite high. So how do you feel about the event taking place in Korea so soon, Brooke?
Well, I'm excited that it's finally here. I feel like we have mentioned it many times in the last few weeks on News Gen. We've all been really looking forward to this big event for Korea. And I think it's particularly special because of the host city. So it's going to take place in Gyeongju, and this is known as the Museum Without Walls. And that's due to the city's rich history, cultural heritage, and of course, as you're seeing, the natural beauty. It is just a gorgeous place. And it's one of those places that perfectly blends Korea's ancient heritage with its modern present. So I think having world leaders gather together for APEC in this really special historic city, it feels symbolic because it's almost like Korea's past is going to be the backdrop for the future of the Asia-Pacific region. And I think a lot of the buzz comes from the national pride associated with that.
I think that was very well said. So I can imagine there's a sense of excitement and maybe even a bit of pressure since it's been 20 years. And the city of Gyeongju must be buzzing right now. It's not every day a city gets to host such a major international gathering. So let's take a look at the screen to learn more. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders Summit is significant for its role in bringing together leaders and economies from across the region to discuss shared goals and challenges. And that's why there's extra attention on how it's being hosted here in South Korea for the first time in 20 years. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at what this event is all about, the host city of Gyeongju, and some of the highlights that have drawn public attention, from the promotional video to what people are hoping to see come out of this year's APEC. As we just saw in the video, preparations are in full swing in Gyeongju, with the city bustling and every detail being fine-tuned as it gets ready to welcome leaders and delegates from across the Asia-Pacific. From organizing venues to coordinating security and logistics, it's clear that a lot of effort has gone into making sure everything runs smoothly. But before we dive into the details of this year's summit, let's take a step back first. So could you remind us what APEC actually is, what it represents in the broader context of the region and global economy, Ki?
Sure. So APEC, short for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation is a regional economic forum that was established back in 1989 to harness the growing interdependence among Asia-Pacific economies. So today, it has evolved into the largest regional economic cooperation body in the world, bringing together 21 member economies that collectively account for about 60% of global GDP and more than half of total world trade. The member nations share a common goal is to create greater prosperity for their people by accelerating balanced, inclusive, and sustainable regional economic integration.
And what you said really puts the scale of APEC into perspective. Like 21 member economies covering 60% of global GDP is a huge number. So APEC isn't just a regional gathering. It really plays a major role in shaping economic cooperation across the Asia Pacific. So Brooke, could you tell us what the focus of this year's summit is and what the leaders are hoping to accomplish?
Sure. So the theme of this year's summit is building a sustainable tomorrow. Connect, innovate, and prosper. And according to the official APEC webpage, this summit is going to focus on addressing shared challenges, embracing digital innovation, and prioritizing inclusive growth. Now, let's go through those three key priorities that I mentioned earlier. So under the Connect umbrella is the goal of strengthening physical, institutional, and people-to-people exchanges. Next, we have Innovate, which is focused on strengthening competitiveness through digital innovation. And finally, there's that last really beautiful word, I think, prosper. And this is all about advancing sustainable growth and empowering vulnerable groups that need that assistance. So through these key priorities, the APEC aims to achieve an open, resilient, and I think perhaps most importantly, peaceful Asia-Pacific region. All very good goals to have, and I'm looking forward to seeing the progress that is able to be made on them.
So it's not just about trade and GDP, it's all about improving the lives of the people in these countries, which makes the location of the summit even more meaningful. And the focus on balance, inclusivity, and sustainability really shows how APEC is trying to make its impact felt not just economically, but socially as well. And as we've mentioned before, it's taking place in Gyeongju. So can you tell us a bit about the city hosting this year's summit?
Sure. Gyeongju, like Brooke said, is full of culture and history, known as a museum without walls. And I remember going to Gyeongju for several times for a school field trip when I was young. It's located in the southeastern region of Korea, and it was once the capital of the Shilla Kingdom for an astounding 992 years, nearly 1,000 years, filled with treasures, cultural relics, and ancient sites. And among most iconic landmarks are Bulguksa Temple, Sakram Grotto, and Cheomseongdae Observatory. So if you take a look at the screen together. So first, Bulguksa Temple is a Buddhist temple built in the 8th century that embodies the ideal Buddhist world through its architecture and art. Sakram Grotto is an artificial stone cave that represents the ideal Buddhist world through its culture and architecture design. Unfortunately, though, the gem that's installed in the middle of Buddha's forehead right now is lost during the Japanese invasion. So the one that we see right now is not original. And Cheomseongdae Observatory is the oldest astronomical observatory in East Asia, showcasing Shilla Kingdom's scientific and astronomical advancement, designated as a national treasure of Korea. So these are the places where pretty much all Korean, especially from my generation, probably have been to, as it was a very common school field trip place.
Do you have a favorite spot out of them?
Well, actually, when you go into Sakram Grotto, you feel the grandeur of how human can build such a huge, Buddha sculpture, and at the same time, amount of time and effort that went in there.
Right.
So, and also another thing I really want to recommend is a Cheonmachong. That's another place really recommend you that probably Adrian has promoted before through its TV shows before. But there's, Gyeongju, wherever you go, the city itself is like a museum, so I definitely suggest you go there.
Sounds amazing.
So hearing about all these sites really highlights how rich Gyeongju's cultural heritage is, from temples, and there's also sorts of observatories as well. It seems like Gyeongju will offer attendees of the event a deep dive into Korea's past, as it's truly a living classroom of history. But Gyeongju isn't just about historical landmarks. So Brooke, could you tell us about some of the more contemporary attractions? And with APEC coming, what kinds of events or experiences have been organized in Gyeongju for the visitors?
Indeed, I think Gyeongju is very well known for its history and the landmarks that tourists really enjoy going to. But there are also more contemporary places that a lot of young people like to frequent, including Hwangnidan Street. So this is a trendy area that has hundreds of shops and cafes that blend tradition with the modern present. And additionally, in preparation for the APEC summit, the city has been preparing numerous cultural events to draw in that global appeal and just show off how beautiful Korea is. The province said that they have invested 15 billion won, that's about $11 million, for this nightscape project across the Bomun tourist complex. And this features installations that reinterpret the splendor of the ancient Shilla kingdom through digital art and immersive lighting. On the nearby lakeside square, you can also check out a 15-meter monument. Like we were saying, it's amazing to see what humans can do when they put their minds together and they can build these gorgeous things. And so this monument is based on the Shilla legend of King Hyeokgose, and he hatches from an egg. And this is a metaphor, officials say, for the rebirth of Gyeongju as a global premium APEC city. So you can really see the thought that they've put into all of these details, and it's really working. People are coming in droves to see all of the pre-events before the summit. In fact, over the recent Chuseok holiday, Gyeongju saw 700,000 visitors come to the city to see all of these preparations. So I think, like we've been saying, the buzz is just amazing.
I can see why so many people visited. I mean, it looks like also the nightscape projects with media art and sculptures will be really a creative way to showcase a city. And it seems like Gyeongju is striking a balance between honoring its rich past and embracing also the contemporary attractions, a perfect backdrop basically for an international gathering like APEC. So coming up, we'll also be chatting with a YouTuber from another country who's visited Gyeongju before and who can give us a first-hand look at both the historic landmarks and the trendy spots. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Majid, a YouTuber who creates content about life and culture in Korea. Hi Majid, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and it's good to be back at Arirang. Thanks a lot.
Great to have you back. So you've been to Gyeongju before, so how would you describe the city?
Actually, I have been to Gyeongju quite a few times, and I'm even going to Gyeongju tomorrow. And I'm really excited for APEC, and I'm really excited to go to Gyeongju and explore the city overall. So as you guys were talking about, that it is a city, it's called as a museum without wall, and it's full of, history. And wherever you go in Gyeongju, it's just, full of history. So for me, describing Gyeongju in one line or one sentence would be difficult. So I would describe it in two sentences. So Gyeongju, first of all, I call it, it's a city where time travel is possible. And why I say that, I guess because Gyeongju is a city that is rich in history, especially the Shilla dynasty. So wherever you are in Gyeongju, you see something about Shilla dynasty. You see something about history to a point that sometimes it feels like maybe some queen or king from Shilla dynasty will just come right in front of you. So there are so many, and I respect that they have preserved history really well in Gyeongju. So for me, Gyeongju is a city where time travel is possible. So if you want to go back in time, Gyeongju is the city. And secondly, I would say it's a city which is the most Insta-worthy or Instagrammable city in Korea. So, I've been living in Korea for a while, but Gyeongju is one of those cities that make me feel like a traveler. So that's why I always love going back in Gyeongju. And it's so Insta-worthy, like whether you are in Daejeon or whether you are in Hwangni-Dangil or in Cheongseongdae, it doesn't matter. Wherever you take a picture, I bet you will get like 1,000 likes because it's so pretty. So a city where time travel is possible, and the most Insta-worthy city is Gyeongju. That's how I describe Gyeongju.
All right, thank you, Majid. Obviously, you're so well experienced. And let's say if someone is visiting Gyeongju for the first time, what's the one place they absolutely have to see or visit, or one thing they really shouldn't miss eating?
One place. That's really difficult to choose one place. There's so many things. And in Gyeongju, there's actually everything for every kind of person. Let's say if you are into history, I would say try to go to Cheongseongdae. As you guys were explaining, Cheongseongdae, it's like the ancient and one of the oldest astronomical observatory that was built in Shilla dynasty. So especially at night, Cheomseongdae is so pretty. It's illuminated in night, and you appreciate like even people in Shilla dynasty, they didn't have Google Maps, they didn't have Google Earth, but they were still observing stars. They were forecasting weather. So Cheomseongdae, if you are into history, is a must visit spot. But like if you are into shopping, I would say Hwangni Dangil. If you are into adventure, I would say Gyeongju World, which is an amusement park. So there's always something to do for everyone. But Cheomseongdae, I would say it's a must visit place. Or if you're into religion, I would say Bulguksa Temple or Soggurom is another cool place to see.
Well, I really love your description of Gyeongju being a place where you can time travel. But speaking of traveling, for those planning a trip there, what are some ways that you can get to Gyeongju by KTX, plane, or bus? Can you give us some information on that?
Actually, like, now, because as you were saying, there's a buzz is real. Everyone wants to go to travel. So I'm glad you asked me the best way is to go to Gyeongju. So I would say, first of all, if you are coming from Seoul, I would say, or from Busan, I would say, KTX is a nicer way. If you can take a KTX and then you can go to Gyeongju. You can, if you want to see more like, beauty of Korea, you can take a bus. Bus is another cool spot. Or you can even go to Ulsan, and from Ulsan you can take a bus, or you can go to Busan by flight, and from Busan you can take a bus to Gyeongju. So from Ulsan to Busan you can take a flight from Seoul to those cities, and then take by bus you can come to Gyeongju. But with KTX you can actually take a KTX, which is the fastest way from Seoul to Gyeongju, and enjoy the beautiful city of Gyeongju, and especially the APEC. And I hope more people will go now. And as you were saying, in Chuseok, there were 700,000 people. Wow. And I'm really glad like more people are going and traveling to Gyeongju.
I also really appreciated how you described Gyeongju as being a place where you can time travel, as well as like very Instagrammable, which is also very appealing to a lot of young people watching, I'm sure. And also, thank you for sharing like really practical tips on how to get there as well. And as always, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks a lot.
So we just spoke with a young person who's visited Gyeongju, and they shared their impressions of both the city's historic treasures and its trendy spots, giving us a first-hand look at what makes this city so unique. And we've also discussed the significance of this year's APEC and why Gyeongju was chosen as the host city. And another topic generating buzz is the role of the promotional ambassadors as well as the promo video. So can you tell us why?
Sure. This year's ambassador, although amongst a lot of other ambassadors, was the K-pop icon G-Dragon. And according to the APEC organizing committee, G-Dragon embodies creativity and innovation, the values that align perfectly with APEC's vision of sustainability and global connectivity. And he was chosen for his reputation as an experimental and boundary-pushing artist, noted for bold projects such as transmitting his music into outer space, making him a fitting representative of APEC's forward-looking spirit, and not to mention other famous figures which we'll be telling you later in the video, including the President of the Republic of Korea, Lee Jae-myung, and the video definitely went viral.
So there's a lot of people that took part in this, and G-Dragon's experimental and boundary-pushing work, like sending music into space, definitely makes him a fitting choice to represent the event globally. And this choice also shows how APEC is trying to blend cultural influence with diplomacy, bringing in a figure who resonates internationally as well as at home. So now, Brooke, could you tell us more about the video itself? What kind of story or message did it try to convey?
Sure. So I think this promotional video really caught people's attention because it wasn't this formal, stuffy government video. It was very stylish and cool, and I watched it. It seemed like almost a short film. It's only a minute and 15 seconds or so long, but if you haven't seen it before, I'll describe it for you. So it starts with, as you can see, G-Dragon entering. He is dressed like a pilot, and he is walking into a traditional Korean-style restaurant. And inside the restaurant, we have some very famous Korean celebrities like DJ Peggy Goo, the legendary soccer player Park Ji-sung, Sung, and also we have Park Chan-wook, who is a famous filmmaker. Additionally, the chef himself is An Song-jae, famous chef here in Korea, and he serves up a dish that looks like cheomseongdae, which we've been talking about a lot today. So then G-Dragon, he sits at the table, he says, "Welcome to APEC," and he's interrupted by, as you just saw, Jang Won-young dressed in a hanbok, and she says, "Can you please move your 2025 vehicle?" And then we see Lee Jae-myung. He's the one who's directing the vehicle outside, the president of Korea. Really a very cool scene. And he directs the plane back into a set of planes that represent all of the other countries. And it ends with saying, "The world comes to Korea." So just a really powerful message that highlights Gyeongju as the destination. And I think what impressed people the most about this is that was a cast of pretty big characters, right? Really famous people. None of them took appearance fees for being in that video. And I think that just goes to show the dedication and the desire to promote Korea's image to the world selflessly. That's all they wanted, was just to show their national pride.
Right, you can really tell just by the video like how everyone's been coming together to really put a lot of effort into making this really, the best as it could be. And as we've seen in the video as well, APEC isn't just about diplomacy, it's also a chance to showcase Korea's culture, innovation, and vision for a sustainable future. So it'll be interesting to see what lasting impact this year's event leaves behind. So from historic Gyeongju to the global spotlight of APEC, it's clear that this event is more than just a meeting. It's a moment for Korea to connect, inspire, and lead. So we'll be watching closely to see what comes out of it next. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Key.
Thank you.
For coming in. Also Brooke.
Thank you. See you next time.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you have the best day. We are
News Generation.